On Saturday, November the 4th, we lost a great man, husband, dad, grandpa, pop. My idea is to create a video diary of sorts to help me along with my healing. And if it helps someone out there somewhere that just happens to come across these, even better. I'm not saying it's going to be professional or maybe even consistent or comprehensive, coherent, whatever big words you want to use. It may be a big mess, but it's something. Hey Dad, good morning. It is Tuesday, November the 21st. I feel a little silly, but this morning, a little after dude left, it was about 30 minutes or so, maybe a little more. I heard a random female voice just say, "Okay." And I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Nope, nope, 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 nope." I put my blanket over my head and I just was trying to go back to sleep. I was like, "No." If I thought I heard it, no, I didn't. But then, like after a while, I remembered that it was Alexa on my phone. I have her set up to turn off the porch light about 6:15ish, 6:20, something like that. So, and then when she does that, she says, "Okay." So I felt silly after that. I was like, "Oh yeah, that was Alexa on my phone." But that was the first or second time, because the first time I was actually awake and I was actually like setting it up, and then this was the first time after that where I was actually like asleep. Usually I'm gonna be waking up. That's when I wake up to take Chunk to the bus stop and Mom to work. So that won't scare me. But yeah, it was kind of silly. Today, we have the service for your urn. So we're gonna be getting ready for that soonish, because it's not till 1, and right now it's like 7:30ish, not quite 8. So we have time for that, but I don't know, I'm kind of nervous. I always am when I'm gonna go see you. I mean, like for your services. I mean, this is only the second one, but you know what I mean. Because I get there and I'm, you know, a little happy to see you. But then it's so hard to leave. It's like, oh gosh. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, like here at the house that Wednesday when I was taking care of you. Of course, it was a little frustrating having to sit down and get back up, sit down, get back up. If I'd stand around a little in your room, you you wouldn't ask for anything until I went out of the room, and then you'd call me right back. I don't know. I should have appreciated that last bit of time there where I could hear your voice. No waterworks. No waterworks. But yeah, when you started getting really, really subdued and quiet, I just thought you were trying to get some rest. I didn't know you were feeling worse. And then at the hospital, that Friday I got to spend with you, I was there, of course, all night. I'd be in and out of sleep. I'd, sleep for an hour or so, wake up, and, in my brain, I was talking to you, telling you, you have to get better, you have to get better, things like that. And then when they were telling me what they were going to have to do, and they were telling me they were going to have to give you dialysis, to see if that would help. And like I said yesterday, I would try to be so optimistic about that. But in my brain, I was freaking out because of the, the things they were saying might happen. And it was nerve-wracking, but yeah. I remember all Saturday morning I was sitting there with you, and you were sedated. Hopefully you could hear, what was going on and whatnot. How much they were trying to bring you back to us. But then they were telling me that they were going to do the dialysis, but they needed a sterile environment to put in the catheters or whatever. And so they asked me to step out for 10 minutes. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I needed to go to the bathroom anyway. Since the bathroom was all the way in the waiting room, I was holding it as long as possible. That's probably TMI. But anyway, so I took my blanket and I went out to the bathroom, and nobody had come to get me yet. So, no, that's not what it was. It was Frito and Mom and Claudia were getting there. That's what it was. So I waited in the waiting room with them for a bit, talked, discussed, the procedures that were going on and this and that. And so Frito went to check and see if they were done. He came back, they weren't done. This 10-minute procedure thing turned into sitting there for like an hour. And so finally one of the nurses came and said, has the doctor come out and talked to you yet? Heart drop right there. And we're like, oh no, nobody's been out here. And she's like, oh, okay, well, he's gonna want to speak to you. And we're internally freaking out again. Oh gosh, this can't be good. So we go into this other little office area, and we're just like, oh, kind of freaking out in that little office waiting for the doctor. And the doctor came in finally, and he was telling us about how serious everything was. And of course, our hearts are like beating them like 1,000,000 miles a minute. But there's always that teeny tiny glimmer, You're so strong. You could pull through this. We'll have you, back home with us in like a week. And then we heard when they said, oh, code blue in dialysis. Oh, we held it together, But we were like just staring at each other with some big eyes. And the doctor said, oh, I'll be right back. That's very serious. And so we're like, okay. And it was, I don't know, one of those things. Everything came crashing down, and we're like, oh gosh, surely that can't be him, right? Surely that can't be him. And, I was like, well, they were doing the dialysis. And so we're sitting there and we're having like a mini freak out. Is it not? Is it not? And so we're in my head, I'm just praying and praying and praying that it's not you. And so after an excruciating amount of time, the doctor came back and he was like, oh, sorry about that patient, this and that and this and that. And he's like, now back to your dad. And so there was that sigh of relief that, okay, so it wasn't him. We're in the clear. And so he was explaining again well, we were explaining to him his medical history. He's like, help me understand this better. So we're, explaining, all the things that have gone wrong in the past, and things that they have told us this time around. And that's when we heard the speaker again. This time they said code blue in room such and such. And that was your room. And we lost it. We could no longer hold our composure. We knew that was you, and you were gone. And so we're like rushing out, and the doctor was, they had kept asking us about the DNR, do not resuscitate. And we're like, what do you mean? Of course we want, if there's a chance to bring you back, we're going to try to bring you back, bring you back. And there was a whole situation with, one of your sisters and Frito and my mom about that. But I won't go into that. You don't need to know all of those details. Mom scared me. She's doing something upstairs. But so the doctor was asking us, okay, so we need to know, would you like us to try to resuscitate him? And he's like, but in all honesty, it's not going to help much to bring him back. He's not going to get any better. So of course, they had already had their orders beforehand, and so when we got to your room, they were starting to pound on your chest, and of course they're doing CPR, but we just couldn't bear to watch it. And I was telling my mom, I was like, you heard the doctor. It's not gonna help. We just need to let him go. He needs to go. So, yeah, that was quite a painful decision. But we just told them, it's okay. You could stop, And so, we had to let you go. Just a few hours ago, I was stroking your arm and stroking your face and your forehead, and now you were gone. But you weren't suffering anymore, which is what we keep telling ourselves. And I think Frito took it the hardest at first. He's your son. He's your little mini me, Even though y'all were always butting heads. He would listen. He would take everything you were saying, to heart. Learning from it, growing from it. So, and then Claudia and I were trying to keep it together as much as we could. No, of course we were crying, but we were like sobbing, No more. I'm done reliving that moment. But I will go and try to be productive today before we leave. I did not get to making that list yesterday about the gifts that we have and who we have them for and whatnot. I ended up finishing my phone calls. And then I went upstairs and I was gonna eat, and my mom said, oh, well, Claudia, made lunch. Let's go over to her house. I had already made a frozen pizza, but I was like, sure. I took it with me to go to her house. Like I was telling you yesterday, she's really, really good She's like the mom of the bunch, you know? You would think it would be me because I'm the teacher and I'm the eldest, but no, she's the mom of the group. Always feeding us, making sure, we have what we need and whatnot. But yeah, Dad, all right. You take care, get some rest, and try not to worry about us too much. I'll see you in a little bit.